enjoyed that previous topic.
Yeah, no, it's fun to dive into. I think I knew DDA was a thing, but I don't think I realized um, I guess I just never acknowledged it as like an actual, like active mechanic.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
wanna link
Yo, we got
link it?
another subscriber.
All right. All right.
That's
You want
crazy.
you want to link the current stream to the Discord channel so people can see?
Yeah, as soon as it's live. There we go.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. We already have one concurrent viewer, which might be you, Matthew, if you have the stream up.
Probably. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
on.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we got one. Um, awesome. All right. So we can go ahead and clap in, and then we'll get started.
Yeah, hold on, get the chat popped out. All right. Yeah, you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Cool. I should only get my notes. Sorry. Arf. All right, you ready?
Yep.
3, 2,
2, 1.
1.
That was completely 100%
That was
timed
way
out.
off.
That was awesome. No, that was it. That was timed in.
Oh, you think so?
Oh
It
no.
it looked very whatever.
I thought it was perfect. Maybe the
Then
audio. Maybe
then
we
it's
good look
fair.
at the VOD or something on YouTube and see how it timed out. All right. Cool. So want to kick us off?
Yes, sir. Hey everyone, it's Matt,
And this is Lucas,
and this is Thanks for Playing.
the podcast where we break down the most iconic video games the world has to offer. Okay, you backed up. You backed up quite a bit there.
I tried.
It didn't hurt my ears.
was talking to my roommates today. They saw me setting up my Ethernet cable to record. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna hear some yelling tonight, huh? Huh, Chief?" I'm sorry.
I
It's
love
my
that.
thing.
I love that you have to set up your Ethernet cord. Like it goes across your whole house, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would show you guys. It's literally like it's set up 30 feet away to my router, like 45 feet maybe, just like
Man.
completely like through the living room, like it's in everyone's way. But I fucking love this podcast.
And the
So
roommates understand, right?
they have to understand it's not their
Yeah,
choice.
exactly.
So that's rough. That's tight. But Lucas, how are you?
I'm doing well, Matthew. I'm doing
Yeah.
well. It is it's a little hot this week, I'd say, where I'm at. It's like
Yeah.
mid to high 80s, a little humid. Last week was a beautiful week. I went to a Dodger game for the first time
Oh.
this season. First time in many years, actually. It was a Friday night game against the Cubs. We won. I saw like 3 home runs. It was
Gee.
really, really, really fun. Had a Dodger dog, the whole bit. Paid like $18 for a beer.
That's
That's it.
That's what
the
we live
experience.
for, baby.
That's the experience.
You had a
It was
better
great.
baseball experience than my roommate. He went and Padres lost 10-1. And Chris in the chat, what's up, buddy? Thanks for joining, hanging out.
Hey, Chris, how's it going, man?
Thanks for coming through. Yeah, man, that's baseball. What a sport! I've been watching. I bet Chris has been watching this as well. The Euro, the
Oh
European
yeah,
Championship for
yeah.
soccer. That's been a lot of fun. 2 crazy games today. We're recording this on June 28th. 2 crazy games. Sweden versus France and Spain versus Croatia. Both got equalized in like the 90th minute to make it 3-3. And the Spanish
Whoa.
Croatia game went till like the very last bit of extra time. And then Spain won 5-3. And then the Switzerland France game went to penalty kicks, and it was
Oh man.
and the Swiss won, which is a big upset actually because France is extremely good. And yeah,
Wow.
Chris was watching that. Yeah.
France, he
Cool.
says.
But
Awesome, man.
we as much as we love sports, and we may eventually do FIFA for this podcast. Who knows?
Oh
I'm
God.
not sure actually, but I'm not even sure how we would do that. That'd be kind of weird. But this is a video game podcast, Lucas, where we talk about video games, and that's right, everyone. Today we are talking about the #1 zombie survival simulator, Left 4 Dead. Da-da-da.
That's right.
Shit.
That's
Now,
right. The 2008 co-op zombie shooter game. by
by
Valve.
Valve. Now, I think everyone knows what Left 4 Dead is. Probably if you're listening to this podcast. I feel like it's kind of a mainstay in every gamer's arsenal, right? But in case it isn't, I'd like to give a very brief synopsis of Neil's in the chat. I'd like to give a very brief synopsis
Neil. All right. But okay,
of
for the people that are just sorry to interrupt. For people that are just listening on Spotify, this is now a live streamed
this is a
recorded
live
podcast.
recording.
So
Yes.
people like we're talking about the chat, like we mean a literal chat for our live stream right now.
Yes.
So you can totally tune into the live stream after Matt tells you about this video game a little bit.
Yes.
He'll tell you
So
where to find us.
Left 4 Dead. So, little brief synopsis. So, after an outbreak of a highly contagious pathogen nicknamed the green flu, which essentially causes zombification, four survivors by the name of one being Vietnam veteran Bill Overbeck, two, the college student Zoe, three, district account manager Lewis, and four, outlaw biker Francis. They all make their way out of the cities in search of safe haven, only to infect every kind soul that tries to help. Because that's right! That is right! Very akin to today's COVID. They are all asymptomatic carriers of the green flu virus. Dangerous, leading them to a constant, never ending cycle of finding help, killing their own help by infecting them on accident. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. One sequel later, you have the best zombie shooter game of all time. The best zombie series of all time. Lucas, what say you?
I really like that description. I think a lot of people don't really know a lot of the lore for the game.
This is the
It's
first
kind
time I found out it's called the green flu.
yeah, there's no way to.
When I
I
was
feel like
reading
there's
up
no
on
really
it,
really
yeah.
know that. There's no way to know that they're like asymptomatic survivors that are like passing it on to like the helicopter pilot that rescues you in the campaign No Mercy. Like you know the characters' names, but like you don't really know their professions or like what they do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you generally know who they are because like Bill's wearing like a Vietnam like uniform, you know. So
Yeah,
it's a
it's
few things
pretty
like that,
obvious. Yeah.
pretty obvious there. But like, how am I supposed to know that Lewis is a district account manager? It's just kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
funny.
It's
Um,
kind of interesting. The only character from what I noticed that actually had a proper last name was Bill. I don't think Francis, Zoe, or Lewis were given last names, at least in the descriptions I read.
hmm.
So could be wrong there, but yeah. Anyways, everyone, before we dive any further into the podcast, I'd like to remind you all, leave a review. Maybe we're on iTunes, Apple Podcast. That helps us get the name out there. So leave a review. Tell me what kind of wine I would be. Would I be a Moscato? Would I be a
You'd be a
Cabra?
Moscato. You'd be a Moscato.
We'll leave it at that. I'm a Moscato. And tell us what kind of cheese Lucas would be. I'm thinking
Ooh.
mozzarella.
Really?
Yeah, but let me know if you got any feedback otherwise. And leave a follow on Spotify if you're on there. And shoot us an email, lakeswillingpod@gmail.com. Follow us on all the things. Twitter, Instagram, TFP Podcast. Come hang out. It's a good time.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, back into the game. This game got a 9.25 on Game Informer, an 8.5 on GameSpot, a 9 out of 10 from IGN, and the most surprising one of all, a perfect 5 out of 5 from the greatest review show of all time, X-Play.
I can't. It's been so long.
Adam Sessler and
Been a while
Morgan
since I
Webb.
heard that name.
Adam Sessler and Morgan Webb.
Forgot
G4
about that.
every day after school and every morning before school, 7 and 7:30 time slots for X-Play and Cheat. G4, for those of you that are a little bit of our younger audience members, G4 was a video game channel that I guess a channel for gamers. I probably a little before its time. It kind of walked so Twitch could run in
Yeah,
sort of
that's
a
a good
way.
way
I
to look
think
at it, yeah.
it's at the end of its life, it was very poorly managed near the end. But I will say that G4 did do something really phenomenal, which was popularize Ninja Warrior for an American audience. Big deal
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
And created like an obsession with that kind of thing, and obviously led to like American Ninja Warrior. But it had a review game show called a games review show called X Play Their ratings were out of 5. They'd review about 3 or 4 games an episode, maybe 3. And it was very, I mean, it was a TV show, so it was very sensational and like really. I never really agreed, even at a young age, with a lot of their opinions, but I find it notable that they gave this game a 5 out of 5. I think that's hilarious. And overall, the game has an 89 out of 100 on Metacritic, so it's a good game. It's a good game, you might say.
No one really hates it.
No one hates it. No one hates
Yeah.
it. That's right.
Yeah.
So my initial thoughts. I'm just gonna dive in real quick. This game is super awesome.
Bro, this game, let's talk.
We've
about
played it so much. Yeah.
This game came out in 2008, and it's still one of the games I've played most with Lucas. And like, I didn't meet Lucas until like when I meet 2015, and we didn't even really start like gaming consistently together until like 2019, right?
That's right. Yeah. And this was the first game that we started gaming consistently.
This is like,
yeah.
This podcast has foundations. In
Left 4 Dead. That's right.
This is the game that like really cemented this partnership.
That's right.
Say. This friendship.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's where we started scheming. Really.
That's where we started
Left 4 Dead.
scheming.
And I think it's just seriously like it struck gold. I really doubt this game will ever stop being fun. It's just so satisfying, and I'm going to talk about a lot of like what makes it so satisfying. The dynamic AI. It sort of has a dynamic difficulty system in there, or what's called the AI game director that Valve implemented. I think it's really really well done. But first, a few housekeeping items for the purists out there. We did technically play Left 4 Dead 2 for this podcast. So what we did for this episode is we played Left 4 Dead 2, but we played the 4 main campaigns from Left 4 Dead, originally released in November 2008, before any DLC for the game came out, with the 4 initial survivors. And the main differences between Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, which we could not separate for this episode, is in Left 4 Dead 1, there were no jockeys.
No chargers either.
And no chargers. And there were some weapons that weren't there, and there was no boomer bile in Left 4 Dead 1 from what I remember. Or incendiary rounds, if I recall correctly. So there's a few things that there was interplay with, but I think the general tone of the game and the game design, I think we can still talk about quite a bit.
Yeah. So Left 4 Dead 1 then would have just been spitters, hunters,
spitters. I
smokers,
think spitters were Left 4 Dead
tanks.
2.
Really?
I think so.
So it was Left 4 Dead 1 then? I didn't even realize that. Wow. So it was just
smokers.
Left 4 Dead episode. Just smokers, hunters, and witches and tanks.
Smokers.
Yeah, smokers, hunters,
smokers,
witches, tanks.
Yes, I think so. Oh, boomers.
I'm gonna fact check
and
that real quick.
boomers. Yeah.
Oh, and
it's
boomers. Yeah.
It's on the Wikipedia actually. Like those special infected are actually explicitly. Yep, it's just the boomer, hunter, smoker.
Oh, I
tank,
totally
and
thought the spitter was there. Dang, that's funny.
Yeah,
Spitter
and
is brutal.
The spitter is actually. I'm surprised it wasn't in Left 4 Dead 1 because I think that it's one of the more like challenging special infection. I think it's kind of necessary to make the game challenging because it kind of separates your survivors and like prevents you from being able to sit in one place.
Yeah.
Although the smoker kind of does that, and the tank does that, but
there'd be so many times that we're like, we'd be like preparing for a horde or something, and we're like, all right, everyone, here's what you do. Like Matt, you watch this area. Ricky, Lucas, you watch this area, and if a spitter comes, well, we're fucked. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And just a few more housekeeping just to get through. We played all these games on advanced difficulty.
Yes.
Go ahead and go back to last week and listen to our episode on difficulty spikes or difficulty choices in games to kind of learn more about why we did that. And we did actually play one campaign, which was Dead Air on normal. Which actually taught us quite a bit about difficulty spikes in games, and I want to touch on a little bit of how like different it is to play this game on an easy mode and a hard mode, and like what we might want to think of as like the premier way the way the game's meant to be played, right? And for more information on that, you can of course listen to our episode on difficulty in video games from last week. All right, Matt, what are some of your other initial thoughts?
Hold up. Honestly, my biggest like thing is just this game is just timeless, right? I mean, when you look at it as far as like a game and what it is, right? It is incredibly simple. 4-player co-op. You're fighting against hordes of zombies, going from checkpoint to checkpoint in each series of levels with a very loose very, very loose, overarching story that is not necessary at all to really enjoy the game for you to follow. Um, but it's just, I think it's one of the best examples in gaming of just simple is best, right?
That's right.
Um, I mean, when you look at everything like other games that come out, like I can't even. This is bad, but like I know there's like a slew of more modern um, zombie games, like Days Gone, I think is one of them, and some other ones that like don't get quite as much critical as claim as say zombies would, and to be or as say as Left 4 Dead would, and to be fair, Left 4 Dead was kind of like on the forefront of like the zombie hype, right?
Yeah.
Like Walking Dead was huge back then, right? And
Yeah. I
was at
actually have a
its
whole list.
peak.
I have a little bit of a list later on talking about the zombie peak cultural
The peak culture
zombification.
zombie, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just one of the examples of simple as best, and so many like incredible multiplayer gaming memories coming from this game. Both, and it's so fun because like again, like we mentioned, it's timeless. So this is a game I was playing in 2000, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all through like middle school, high school years with my buddies. And then this is a game I'm playing now. But even some of those same friends from back in the day, like our friend Ricky, who I've been friends with for ages. And like you guys, and like making new memories with new friends as well. And it's incredible that it's endured. And what's more incredible is we have so many. Let's just like remove the zombies, right? Like, we have so many examples of like modern day shooting games that maybe don't feel that good. Point in case, great game for different reasons, but like Spec Ops the game, gameplay wise, really isn't. Excuse me, Spec Ops the game, Spec Ops the
Spec is the
line.
line, the
Go
game.
listen to that
Yeah.
episode, really good episode. But like gameplay wise, as far as like from a technical aspect, not a very good game in that regard.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel good to play. And like there's a slew of other shooters that you could argue based off personal taste and preferences don't really just feel good. But like this game is just it just feels
It's
good.
very tactile. It's smooth. It's
Largely
fun to
because
shoot.
it's based off like Source Engine, right? Which it's Valve CS:GO, like that's bread and butter, right? It's basically CS:GO as zombies is kind of what it feels like.
Yeah.
And fun fact, once I started playing this game with you on my PC, this was basically the game I learned to play FPS with on the computer. Because
Really?
I had very little mouse keyboard experience with FPS, which especially if you've played with a controller your whole life, it takes a minute to get used to. Um, and this is basically the game that I used to transition from console to PC.
All right. Yeah, I like to hear it. I think yeah, I agree with you there. Basically, everything is just so feels so good when you play this game and it being the source engine and I mean it's the source engine, but there's also a lot of things the game does very well, like with sound design, with voiceover lines and like guns, the way the guns feel, the way the guns sound, the way the zombies animate. Everything feels very good. That's not necessarily a product of the source engine, but the work of the animation team
Yeah, and there's
and the
so many
sound
good
designers
little
too.
one-liners too. Like if you shoot like one of your teammates on accident, because friendly fire is like a very real thing in this game.
Yeah.
Like a very real hazard you have to worry about, like not just there for comedic effect. But there'll be like you'll shoot someone, and you'll just hear them like, Really?
Yeah.
Really?" Like,
Do I look like
like,
one of them?
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good one.
so
It's
fucking
great.
funny.
Yeah, and seriously, the game just feels really good to play. I absolutely agree with all that. When would you say it really clicked for you? Would you say it clicked back then? Like, were you always into this game? Did you find that you got more into it?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I was reflecting on that question when I was doing my notes and everything, and I think I'd be lying if I said I remembered my exact first impressions from 2009 or 10 whenever I first played this game. But like I can't think of any moment that I've played this game that I haven't had fun, right? Or that I haven't like understood the mechanics cuz pretty quickly like you very quickly learn like the sounds, right, that are bad. Like, oh, here comes a horde, you hear the roar or whatever. Or you very quickly learn the boomer sound or the jockey sound, the little laugh. Maybe we'll throw a soundbite in here. Or like the smoker or the hunter, and everything comes together very quickly, and you can very easily learn all the sound cues and everything very early on in the game, right? And like in the first level that you're playing, because you'll probably get to
Yeah.
expose at least to everything, including the witch, at least once in like the first one or two levels. But that said, the best part of that is just because you know those sound bites and those sound cues, that by no means you're gonna be ready for a charger fucking eating at you.
Yeah, dude, Chargers, so good. I
By
love
no
it.
means are you gonna be ready for a charger just like coming at you full speed. I remember we were playing just you and me one, and we were just getting slaughtered, and I was like. It was like a narrow alleyway, and I'm like, all right, I have so much space, and I see this charger coming at me. I'm like, hold up, I got this, I got
Yeah,
it.
that was
I got
great.
this one.
That was
Like, I
awesome.
fucking
That was
got this. I was trying to do like a badass moment, like I got this, and I'm just like unloading into it. And I don't know if whatever it is, but for some reason, you will not be able to kill a charger until it has taken like at least one person for a ride.
yeah, yeah. It's the
No matter
worst.
what you do. Of course, I just get totally railed by this thing and just destroyed. And yeah, it's just the game does such a good job of teaching you the what to expect within the game and what to expect from certain sound bites and visual and audio cues, whatever that may be. But what it does best is still making the game incredibly difficult, even if you understand those little sound bites and those
Yeah.
little whatever it may be. And while I say incredibly difficult, but what I really mean is challenging, right? In a very fun and
Yeah.
rewarding way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely agree. It's funny you mentioned like you could remember the exact moment that you first played the game. I remember everything about the first time I played this
Really?
game. Yeah, I remember a demo came out on Xbox Live Arcade or the Xbox Live Marketplace. A demo came out for the game, and it was the very first two levels of the very first campaign, which is No Mercy. A buddy of mine sent me like a audio message through Xbox Live. I don't know if you remember people doing that
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot.
yeah.
He sent me an audio message and he was just like, "Hey, this new game came out. It's called Left 4 Dead. Download it. Let's play it tonight." Blah blah blah. And I like downloaded it and played it. And so co-op games for me really do hold a special place in my heart. I always have loved the idea of going through something with your friends and kind of overcoming. Some of my fondest video game memories are like Gauntlet Legends with my brothers, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles with some of my close high school friends. And I really truly do think that Left 4 Dead might be the best co-op game ever. Like in terms of like you and your friends against like the AI, against the world, you know? It's so intrinsically co-op, right? Like you literally cannot play the game without like not being a team, and it's you understand that within like the first 5 minutes, where like somebody
Yeah.
tries to go lone wolf, they die immediately,
There were
and you're
so many
it's
moments
so
where like
crazy.
either me or someone else would wander off, and then like we just get fucked. And they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
What are you
and
doing,
it's
King?"
like yeah, it was just like, why did you leave the group? What you
Yeah.
know how this works? Like you
And
cannot
without
leave your
fail,
and
every time you get shucked up because there's just like one stray smoker that'll get you,
yeah,
or one stray jockey that'll just start riding your ass. It's
it
just the fucking worst.
and
Yeah.
and it's so co-op-y that like that person's wrong every time. Like it's not like yo, where were you guys? It's like no, where the hell were
Or
you?
you.
Like yeah, it's like
Yeah.
you left, we didn't leave. So it's like it's a very like it's so co-op-y in a way where it's like punishing people that are doing things on their own, and I just love that. And like you go down if you're not with your team, and it teaches you that so quick. I remember playing it for the first time and like learning about what a boomer was, and like a hunter jumped on somebody and I was like, whoa, like what? And on top of it, just feeling so great to play. I think it's just amazing.
Yeah, and it's like again, it's just the example of like a simple game, simple mechanics, but refining them perfectly, and it being a just a dope game. Like there's no
Yeah.
other way to explain it. Yeah.
Yeah. So diving into game design, I actually did do a little bit of research on this one, and I found it. What I found out was like super cool.
Okay.
So one thing I found super interesting is that the developers, when they were making this one, they actually referred to the group of players as the player, singular. So
Interesting.
they never viewed this as a game that had like multiple players like being designed for. They were all being designed for the player. The experience was
Right.
all revolved around the four, which they just called the player. And since you can't go off on your own because the special infected will get you, everybody is really forced to be as one unit essentially. And for certain special infected, they'll be like there's creative problems that you have to solve, right? Because ideally, the perfect way to play this game is to move together as a group, as a unit, like watching all four directions and just running and shooting, right? But why is it not that simple? Because of things like spitters and smokers and chargers. Like, if a hunter lands on somebody that's in the middle of a group of people, it's not going to be that big of a deal because
No,
that
you
hunter's
just
just going
get
to
it
instantly
off.
get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to instantly get killed. But a spitter, that's going to separate the group. A charger's going to separate the group. What if a tank shows up? Now the whole group has to get separated. Somebody gets downed. Now somebody has to help the person that got downed. So the game has just such an interesting game design where like there is a quote perfect way to play the game, but it's never quite working out as perfectly. And
Right.
like making things difficult when you know the best way to play it intrinsically as a player or instinctively as a player is such a creative problem to solve, and I think they solve it. I think that's just really really awesome. The decision to do persistent like carryover for items in between campaign levels, I think is really interesting. So if you finish chapter one of it, each campaign is about 4 or 5 parts, right? And a
Yes.
finale, and the finale is like the hardest part. Um, the items carry over level by level, and your items are all very
And
sparse.
your
So,
health and your whatever
and
stats you're carrying over with your like whatever it may be.
exactly. So if you really screw up in the first 2 or 3 levels and you don't have enough med kits, sometimes you'll be down a med kit moving on throughout the levels, and you have to really start thinking about your resources.
Yes.
So I think that creates an interesting dynamic because it rewards really good play in the beginning, and each like playthrough kind of becomes even more nuanced and more different. So it becomes either significantly easier or like you're in the finale and you're like, I really wish we had like 2 more med kits right now. Like
Yeah.
it's never quite enough just because the persistency is there.
If you're playing
Uh,
on advanced.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you're playing on normal, you might not even need a med kit.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And the other thing too is, and this is the big thing I talked about earlier, is the AI, the game director that Valve called. Um, Basically, this game is spawning items for you in a dynamic difficulty type of way, depending on what the group is going through, right? So basically, in order to keep the group constantly on edge and to keep things as tense as possible. So if people are a little bit low on health, like let's say 2 people are low on health, the game would spawn a med kit, let's say in one side room, only one though. So you have to choose. Now you have to make a choice of who's actually really going to get healed in this case, right? And that's creating an interesting dynamic. Maybe there's like those med boxes that have like emergency medical supplies like pain pills or med kits. There's not ever going to be quite enough of what you need for
No.
the situation,
It
right?
always
And that's
forces you to make a choice and prioritize and decide as a
exactly.
team who needs this most, you know?
Exactly. And that is a lot like it's different every single time. It's like the AI director for the game is creating these things for you, the player. And I find that so fascinating, one from just a pure game design standpoint, but two, just from like a philosophy standpoint, right? One, it creates a brand new experience for players every single time. So there's always a new and
Yes.
interesting way to play the game. That witch won't always be there. That tank will not always spawn at that point. So it's always going to be new and interesting. But two, like it's
It almost has roguelike elements in a way.
yeah, it's sort of
Yeah.
I wouldn't go as far as using the word procedural generation. I almost used that when I was taking my notes, but I realized it's not necessarily procedural. But I don't know. There's something really
Adaptive generation.
adaptive, dynamic
Yeah.
generation, perhaps.
Dynamic generation.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, and also like it does really good things with lighting. That's very subtle. Like it's kind of pointing you in the right direction through the use of
Yes.
lighting. A lot of the darker areas are the areas that have some of those items, like an extra pipe bomb or an extra like med kit or something like that. So you get rewarded a little bit for exploring darker areas that are like a little bit scarier, which I think is really really cool. But everything stays a little bit tense through every playthrough. That's what I find super fun about the whole thing.
Yeah, especially like playing on the higher difficulties. I mean, we were playing with a group of 4 people, right? And I'm not trying to say like we're pro gamers by any means. I think we've all learned from this podcast. If you've listened to previous episodes, I'm not that good at games, but we're all like 4 friends that are fairly competent at games that should be able to, on paper, operate very efficiently in a manner together, right? And
Yeah,
are skilled enough at games to like be pretty competent at a shooter at this point in our lives. And like in a campaign level, not like a multiplayer level, but every time it was still hard because everything was a challenge, everything was unique, and even if even like let's say you're going through you're going through a part of the game, right? And maybe you're at this elevator you finally have to hold out for, and hordes spawn at certain times and spitters or whatever come at certain times. Now you're thinking, Okay, that's what I have to look out for. Like everyone, be ready for the spitter that comes like 3 minutes into the horde attack. Be ready for that, and we'll be good to go. And then you're trying it again after you all died, and you're 3 minutes in the horde attack, and Mickey's out there looking for the spitter. And then next thing we know, there's a fucking tank on Mickey.
Yeah.
Lucas is getting ridden by a jockey off the map. I'm tied up by a smoker, and Ricky has no idea what the fuck is going on. And then, and that's because the game is changing every time, and it's giving you that unique dynamic experience every time. Because I think one of the worst things the game can do. No, actually, I won't change that. I'm gonna not one of the worst things the game can do, but one of the maybe a gaming sin, I would say, is having it be a static experience that's incredibly predictable to a fault, of where it's like you experience it once and then you're able to adapt to it because it's just like, oh, that's a gimmick I should be ready for, right? That's not to say a game like, let's say, Hyperlight, right? Like, I know I explained in our last podcast episode on Hyperlight Drifter about how, like, it's a game where you learn patterns and things like that. But
Right.
learning the pattern of a boss and learning, like, sequences like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, like that, and being prepared for that sequence of attacks is much different than knowing, here comes the fucking spitter that's gonna fuck up my shit.
Yeah.
Let me get it real quick before it gets me. Like,
Yeah.
it's understanding the mechanics of a boss battle versus understanding like a gimmicky, really annoying little like minion you have to fight, right?
Totally.
Um, and I think Left 4 Dead balances that perfectly by, you know, always changing the gimmicks you have to fuck with, right?
Yeah, yeah, I exactly. I think it's funny because I think it's something I really didn't understand when I played it for the first time, that things were dynamically changing. I thought, it's level, okay, here's where this is going to be. There's going to be a boomer around the corner here, because that's like how you're trained when you're a little bit of a younger gamer. Is you play through a level, you die, you play through the level again, and now you know what to expect. But this game, it really doesn't work like that. And the other thing too I want to mention is this came out like, if it had come out a little bit sooner, I don't think it would have worked. I don't think the audience was really ready for it. I don't think the technology was there as far as like Xbox Live parties
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
playing like on a headset with people. I think like the thing that makes the game really fun is riding that line of tension, scaring people, making your friends scream for help. Like that is so essential to the game. I don't think I would have had it any other way. Like there's a
If
funny
the
one. If we recorded our gameplay, and like there was a moment where Matt got like hit by a charger, and he was like, he thought that everybody like was gonna help him. He was like, boys, and then he realized that nobody saw it, and he was like, boys.
boys,
It was like one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. It was, boys, boys. This is
there's
so
so many
good.
moments where it's like, on me, lads.
Lads,
Lads,
on me, on
lads.
me, he's on me. Yeah, it was always like half the things that were being yelled were on me, on me. He's one, he's one.
Yeah.
It's like a tank. It was like so good, and like it's having fun with your friends and like playing through it is so hilarious. And even like the stupid things that happen where like Ricky shot me at the end of our first campaign as I was running to the helicopter for the very end. He like literally killed me, and like that was, and then the helicopter flew
Yeah,
away.
I got. I don't. We won't really be able to show the footage properly on the audio podcast, obviously, but I got so much footage of like. There was two instances. One, in the very final first campaign, we did the final horde fight. You getting shot by Ricky as you're making your way to the fucking
That was horrible.
helicopter. And then there's another one of us all making our way to a safe house. Our friend Mickey running away from a horde of zombies, and Lucas trying to shoot the zombies. And then it's so
I
funny
shot
because
Mickey.
I see from my perspective, I see Lucas point at the zombies, which Mickey, our friend Mickey's also in the range. I hear one shot go off, and I just see in the corner. Um, Lucas has incapacitated Mickey, and
It
it's
was so
just
good.
like, so funny.
Yeah, it
And
was great.
a lot of little inside jokes this episode, but
Yeah,
I
it was
think
great.
anyone that's played this game with their friends understands that and has those little great moments they can call back to. And I like what you mentioned too about this. If this game came out any earlier, it wouldn't have worked as well. Because I think the multiplayer and the co-op experience is so important to this game. Like, let's pretend this game came out in PS2 era or Xbox era, right? Like original Xbox.
Hmm.
Um, Granted, original Xbox had 4 player and that co-op could be experienced that way, but then you're You have like you're all crowded on like a small CRT to begin with,
Yeah,
and then you're even
exactly.
in smaller little fourth of a square screens, and it's just not as great of an experience. The PS2 is only 2 players, so obviously there is there's the PCs obviously had better multiplayer capabilities back then, but a lot of PC people didn't have as good of access to PCs back then, right? And
Hmm.
gaming PCs that could handle gaming, whereas every not every middle schooler, I shouldn't, but like a lot of middle schoolers or people in elementary, middle school, high school in like 2008, 2009, like everyone had an Xbox or a PlayStation to play games after school with their buddies, right? And
Yeah,
it made games and these experiences like Left 4 Dead very accessible to everyone, which I think is really important and really
yeah,
helped to the game's success because this is a game that, well, you can by all means play it single player. This is a game that, in my mind, and I think probably the developer's intent too, even though they refer to it just as the player, I really do think this game is very clearly like this is a game meant for co-op.
yeah, totally. And meant
Yeah,
for co-op in a very specific way, which is like yelling to your friends. Like it's not a split screen co-op game, right? It's everybody in a party yelling at each other over their mics,
yeah,
because if it was split screen, it wouldn't have worked 4 player split screen, I don't think. I think it just would have been too intense. There wouldn't have been as many zombies on screen. It wouldn't have been able to load anything for that time period, I think.
yeah,
Um, because it would have had to load it 4 different times on 4 different miniature screens.
right,
It just
yeah.
would have been too much. So I think it just kind of struck at the right time. And again, I do want to get to a little bit later. I'm going to talk about it during my companion piece pick about how zombies were just so in at this time. I think people forget how in zombies really were. We're gonna take a flashback to 2008 a little bit later. But moving on from game design, do you have anything else for that?
That's all I got.
Art style.
Ooh. Honestly, I mean, zombies and everything are designed really well. The tanks are terrifying. The smokers, the hunters, the spitters are funny as fuck.
Yeah.
Um, everything looks very good, but like it's Source Engine at the end of the day. Like it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
from a graphical standpoint, it's like whatever. But like everything's designed very well, I think.
I agree. Yeah, I think like the concept art, I saw some of it, looks pretty great. The intention behind the design, the characters, kind of are meant to be sort of like everyday people. I think all the
Hmm.
intentions of like character art, design, concept, cities, it's all kind of fitting into the like thing that they were going for. I think it's not super high concept. It's kind of just like, hey, these are just normal people. Hey, these are just kind of 28 days later zombies.
Yeah,
It's kind of normal stuff like that. But the art style is not something to really go crazy over. That's kind of the only thing I have written down. You know,
standard issue.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sound design, obviously
very very
amazing.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. Just total A plus.
Not like so much from the music standpoint, right? Which I think that's kind of what we usually will gravitate to a lot on this podcast. But
Mm-hmm.
um, like I mean, I talked about it so much earlier, but the game does like such a good job with each of the unique sounds, each of the type of special infected. There's so many moments where I mean, we were just playing this a few nights ago with like Mather and a couple of our other friends, um, and like we'll be going through a cornfield, and all of a sudden you just hear the like the roar of the
Yeah.
zombies, and you just know like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
you know.
That was good.
So many little moments like that, but there were some fun things too, like zombies aside too. I mentioned earlier as well how I think there's so many great one-liners right from the survivors, and there was actually over 1,000. I mean, this number doesn't sound that impressive because I mean it's like a video game, and like any normal like couple acts of conversation between main characters will have a lot of words and lines, but this isn't like really a story game, right? It's more of just like a fun action game. But each character, each survivor had over 1,000 unique lines recorded for each of them.
I
So
saw
that's
that.
that's
Yeah.
basically like 1,000 funny one-liners for each
Yeah.
of them.
That's a
Is how
lot.
to look at it. Yeah.
And there's also like the characters are all yelling out like informative things too.
Yeah.
They're yelling that they're reloading. They're yelling if they see ammo or a boomer or something like that. And I remember when I first played this game in 2008, and my character yelled to the other characters that they were reloading. My mind was blown. I was just like, "Oh my god, did he just announce that he was reloading?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it was crazy. I mean, I think that's like a really underrated thing for these days, like communication with your teammates is like such a given now. Like everything has a ping system these days, and a lot of character voice lines just follow that typical game design mechanic
Yeah.
where you're just passively giving information whether you want to as a player or not. Your character is doing it.
Yeah.
And this game is underrated for doing that. I think. I think it for me it was the first time a game ever did that. Have a character say a line in the sound design that informs somebody of something like boomer boomer and
Right.
it's like, oh wow, they said it for me. That's
Yeah.
interesting because like I don't know, I think that's really underrated.
I mean, especially too, I think it wouldn't have been that uncommon for maybe you get home after school and this game first came out, and none of your friends are on Xbox Live yet. Maybe you played campaign with some randoms and they're not using mics, right?
Yeah,
Like in that situation, those little voice cues and those lines will be super important and actually super helpful to the gameplay experience as well. So
exactly. Yep, totally. All right, that's all I got for sound design.
yeah.
I like the well, actually, one more thing. I do like the music that plays like when hordes or waves are coming and the tank is coming. Those are really
Hmm.
fun.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing is the charger charging at people. I think we're definitely gonna insert some of that, probably about right here.
I'll go right here.
Yeah.
All right. NPC award.
Yeah, this was a hard one. I mean, I put NA. There's not really any NPCs.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, oh, actually, yeah, even the special infected you can play as in the multiplayer, huh?
Yeah, there's technically
Um,
no non-player characters in this
well, I'll
game.
tell you what I did try putting. I don't know if this counts or not. Because they're just like audio, really. But I put every other survivor that does their best to help them, and then they get fucked up and infected because the survivor's
Oh,
asymptomatic.
the helicopter
Like the
pilot.
helicopter, or like the
Yeah.
plane, anyone really. Yeah.
You don't really see that guy though, but
I think you can kind of see that, like the um, like outline or the what's the word?
silhouette maybe.
Silhouette
Yeah.
of the plane guy or the helicopter flyers, but pilots.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah, not really any proper NPCs, unfortunately. I don't think you can play as it. Can you play as the tank in the multiplayer? Yeah, I think
Yeah,
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 you can. Yeah,
you can.
yeah. Kind
All
of
right.
mostly NA here. Companion piece.
Companion
Uh,
piece pick. All right, you wanna go before we jump in? I will say shout out to Schmoofy. He is in the chat. He has entered the
oh,
chat. What's going on, Schmoofy?
Schmoofy
Schmoofy
TV.
played Left 4 Dead with us on for this episode, so he's actually
Played
a
a
part of
lot
this
of Left 4
episode.
Dead with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my companion piece pick. I'll go ahead and start this one off, Lucas. So I think the obvious choice was a zombie, any form of zombie media, and
Yeah.
there's no shortage to pick from, right? But I thought, nah, I'm gonna try and break free a little bit. So I picked a movie I quite enjoy. No zombies, a movie called This Is the End.
Okay, that's good.
Directed
Apocalypse movie.
Apocalypse movie directed by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. Which, for anyone that hasn't seen it, it's basically a like not satirical, but like just comedy horror movie, kind of
Spoof?
spooky spoof movie where all these celebrities like fucking Michael Cera, Rihanna's in it. Like they all play themselves. Seth Rogen, James Franco, Jonah Hill, Jay Brunkle. They all play themselves in this movie, and the apocalypse is happening and the raptures happen where all the good people get to go up to heaven, and it follows like all the shitty people that are left on Earth, like basically all these celebrities as they like try and survive in this really like just awful like literally devil infested world basically. And I'll tell you why I picked it, Lucas. No, is it not zombie, but it's apocalypse. Easy and obvious choice. It can be just dumb, funny, and entertaining, like I think a lot of Left 4 Dead moments are. And in a way, this is also a co-op apocalypse experience. I
That's
imagine
good.
I try and imagine how like our friends over at BroCal would be if we all were trapped in a house during the rapture, and
Yeah.
I think it probably goes something like that. Yeah.
Okay, admittedly, I have not seen that movie, although I know how popular it is. I've done the maze at Halloween Horror Nights.
Oh,
Yeah, they had a maze.
shit. Really? I'm
Yeah.
surprised. Yeah. It's
Yeah, it was a scary, funny maze
yeah,
situation.
I haven't watched it in a while to be honest. I'm not sure how well some of the comedy would hit for me these days, but high school me fucking loved it. I thought it was the
But
funniest shit.
probably worth a rewatch from Matt, and definitely a watch for me.
Yeah.
But okay, great companion piece pick. I'm going with a zombie movie for this one. My favorite zombie movie, Zombieland.
So, yeah.
Okay,
I almost picked
I
that too.
love
Yeah.
I love Zombieland. Okay, so I just going back to 2008, right? You got to think about how zombified our culture was back then. Like, people literally wanted a zombie apocalypse to happen. I remember that was people were just like doomsday preparers became zombie apocalypse preppers, and like bought guns, generators, like gas tanks, propane tanks, so they can throw them and then shoot them and blow up a bunch of zombies at the same time. People like had zombie like escape plans and contingency plans for themselves, and like think about it. Okay, Walking Dead, movies like Zombieland, Left 4 Dead the game, Nazi zombies was huge. Game of Thrones had just released White Walkers, basically zombies.
Basically, yeah.
Can we talk about that? Yeah, no
Yeah.
one
I
ever
mean,
talks about that.
the whites are
The
zombies pretty
whites are
much. Yeah.
zombies. The White Walkers technically are not zombies, but the army of the dead is
Literally,
zombies.
they call it the Army of the Dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, come
Yeah.
on. I think Dawn of the Dead had come out only a few years prior to all that. I think it was an early 2000s remake movie. I don't think, no, I think that was the remake. Zombies were everywhere
Yeah.
back then. And this game again was part of a cultural zeitgeist in terms of zombies, and I think it was the closest thing to making people feel like the zombie apocalypse. I think a lot of these
Right.
movies are trying to go for that, and this game kind of nails it. Zombieland is great because in juxtaposed to all the things I mentioned, Zombieland's a comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, you chose a comedy too, which is great because that's it was a satirical spoof on like the apocalypse movie, which was really big back then too. Just because 2012 was around and
Yeah.
culturally we just all wanted to die or something. I don't know. But Zombieland was funny because it was like lighthearted, had four main characters that were all like survivors, and it was kind of like a ragtag team of people like that ended up having to fight zombies, and it was fun. And I've always liked that movie. So if you haven't seen it, Zombieland, huge recommendation there.
Great film. Great film. Lucas, favorite moment.
All right. So my favorite moments, I'm gonna go plural on this
Moments.
one.
Yeah.
Every finale was just awesome. Every finale was just designed to make you feel so scared the whole time. It was always well earned when you got away from stuff. It was always hard. You needed a game plan. You like really had to try with the
Yeah.
finales, which
Especially
I
on
really
advance. Yeah.
Yeah, you really did, and those are my favorite moments easily.
Yeah. Kind of same for me. There isn't really like a specific moment, but just like favorite moments in general. But I think my favorites were just when, whenever I would just get like a jockey on me or something, and I'm just like, whenever there's like that 1 second of delayed reaction from your teammates, and it's like that 1 second of like, oh god, I'm fucked.
Yeah, and you're
Or
always
getting
pissed.
like, yeah, or like getting rammed off a fucking roof by a charger, and it's just like that's it, you're dead. Um, or there's one moment too where I don't know, I just get such a kick out of this where we were all like, I think we were in the hospital, on the hospital level, and I'm like, we're all just moving really quickly because we already done this level like 2 times because we just keep dying. And then I'm down to go down an elevator shaft that we think we're supposed to go through. And then it's like actually just like would kill me. We almost all jumped to our death. Just little things like that. I love so many fun little moments. But I think that's what's great about Left 4 Dead is it doesn't have like a particular. I mean, there might be like one particular comedic or funny moment that may stand out to you, but there's so many of those moments in this game that you'll just like think about and like just laugh about randomly in your day. Little things like that. So just awesome for that kind of stuff. Um,
Totally.
Nitpicks. I'll go here really quickly. I only have a couple. Um, this this is a bit of a nitpick, but I think there's a super easy rebuttal. The game's a little short,
Mm-hmm. I
but
agree. Yeah.
the replayability is it's 2021. This game came
Yeah.
out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No,
More
13 years ago.
13.
And we can still replay any of these. I mean, we could go through all these with the same group again that we did these last couple weeks and have just as good of a time. So short but extremely, extremely high replayability. And then the difficulty disparity is extremely high in this game between the difficulty levels. There's easy, normal, advanced, expert, right? Those are the four. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't even want to know how easy is, to be honest. They probably just don't
It's
even
probably
let
way
you.
too
But
easy.
the difficulty disparity between normal and advanced is so egregious because normal is incredibly easy, and advanced is not like it's challenging. It's challenging, but enough to where you, unless you're really good at the game, you probably won't get through your first try. And just it feels like there should be something in between there, like between normal and advanced. That's how big the disparity is, or it feels like maybe advanced should be toned down, and then expert should be where advanced is, or something like that, or vice versa with normal and advanced. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so that's my only real, I guess, complaints.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I know we didn't get. We're gonna run short on time here for the pod, but if you're interested in learning about difficulty spikes, again, you could check out our last week's episode on difficulty, and why you might have to play a game at a certain difficulty, and what it really means. How it's like one might be the truer version for you, but everybody's different, you know. And for me and Matt, what we found was normal was just way too easy.
Yeah.
So that is weird because it's like normal difficulty. It should be the ideal way to play the game, but it's kind of just boring.
Yeah,
Um,
completely.
but advanced is like a little bit too hard at some parts, for sure. That would be my nitpick as well. I don't really have anything. I didn't even have the game being too short as a real nitpick. I think that the game is like a perfect bite-sized chunk. Each campaign will run you about an hour to like an hour 15, depending on like how hard it is or depending on how good the group is. But that's perfect, you know. Like, oh, let's sit down with some friends and like kill an hour playing Left 4 Dead. Like that's awesome, you
It's a good
know. And
time.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good time. All right. And would you play any other games from this developer, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, Left 4 Dead 2, great. Valve, obviously, great. And not Valve explicitly is coming out with it, but the team that made Left 4 Dead is working on what is being called the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead, Back for Blood,
Yeah.
which basically just looks like a modern version of Left 4 Dead. I think I was reading online a little bit. I guess there's kind of almost like a perk system in it that like you pick perks at the beginning of each level. That sounds kind of fun, but it just looks like a modern, graphically updated Left 4 Dead with some more zombies and more like boss fights. It looks like too.
Yeah.
So I'm
That's what
super
I had
excited
down.
for it. I think the open beta comes out in August, so I definitely want to play that with some of you guys. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, for sure. If any audience members out there or anybody in the Thanks for Playing Army wants to play a little bit of Back for Blood in August, we are down. Um, about the spiritual successor thing, just quick side note. I really am so scared of the term spiritual successor. I think it's been really muddied over the years because, like,
Yeah.
Mighty Number Nine, I did not like. I already forgot the name of it. Curse of the Moon, Curse of the Night, whatever. The Castlevania spiritual successor. I really did not like
It's a
that one
weird
when I played
term.
it. Yeah, it's just like it's basically like a lot of things. I think we talked about this on an episode. A lot of things are so bound by when they came out that like that's what makes them
Yeah.
special. And I hope Back for Blood is good. Um, and you know, I guess the beta could help us steer our thoughts in the right direction. But I'm gonna keep the expectations low because I don't want to feel. I just want to enjoy Left 4 Dead. I don't want to like feel like anything's
Yeah.
gonna replace
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, other games by this developer, Counter Strike. I'm on record being a Counter Strike guy. You know, hate the game, love the game, both at the same time, that kind of thing.
Portal,
But
Half
Portal,
Life,
loving Portal.
TF2, right? TF2.
I've
Yeah.
actually never fully done a playthrough of Half-Life, so we should probably do that for the pod.
We should. Yeah, I haven't either. Actually, that'd be really good for each of us to both get the first
Get the
impressions
Half-Life.
there.
Yeah.
And they just did Half Life Alex, which I think Bubbles, friend of the pod, has also recommended to me
Yeah.
quite a bit as well. Big
Apparently
VR
a
game.
perfect game. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those perfect games that they keep talking about. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, awesome. So that's all I got. We can dive into final conclusive thoughts, but I got nothing. I think I said my piece.
Yeah, sir.
Okay. All right. So we can go ahead and give our rating on the game now. And for those of you that don't remember how our rating system works or you're new to the pod, Matt and I will shout out a rating out of 10. And we will add that up and give a final score out of 20. And that becomes the final score of the game, superseding X Play, GameSpot, IGN, what have you, because we are the number one video game
Number one.
podcast. All right. So on after one, give our rating. Okay.
All right.
3, 2, 1. 9. All right,
Oh,
there it
yeah,
is.
no.
Okay, that puts us in the Kakashi guy zone
Great
for our
zone.
rating scale. It's a good zone.
Great
So
zone.
if you watch Naruto, you know how powerful Kakashi and Guy are. They're not the most powerful, but hey, right up
Pretty
there.
great.
So that's how we feel about this game. I think it's a well-deserved 9. You know, it's great replayability, super fun, just super tactile, very fun, challenging enough, and just good, wholesome, fun time with your friends.
Yeah. Yeah, like I mentioned, I mean, the only real criticism I have is kind of the difficulty disparity, but I mean, we all like to play on advanced anyway, so it works out fine.
Yep. That's right. All right, that's all we got today.
Oof.
Matt.
I just want to say this is one of the games I've had the most fun playing for the podcast. 'Cause
Yeah.
we love playing a bunch of co-op with our friends. So
Yeah.
great game. But yeah, I think that's most of the time we got today, everyone. Chat. 'Cause we got a live chat right now. We're on YouTube. If you have any quick questions you want to ask, go ahead and shoot them in there, and then we'll stick around and ask them after we finish the main recording here. But all right, everyone, that is all we got today for you. You can find us online. Thanks for playing pod@gmail.com. Shoot us an email. Tell us what you want to see, what you want to hear. Ask a question. Love to hear from you. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram. TFP Podcasts. That's TFP Podcasts with an S at the end. And if you're so inclined, you can follow your good buddy Matt over here on Twitter. Good idea, Matthew. And I do want to mention everyone, because it has been picking up some steam lately. You know, the stats won't show it, but it's picking up some steam. Our Discord. We do have a Discord server, everyone. That's been really fun. You can find that Discord in our link tree, which is on either our Twitter or our Instagram. Again, those handles are TFP Podcasts. Or shoot us an email. Hit up me or Lucas on Twitter. We'll get you in the Discord. It's a good time. You can find it in those link trees on those social profiles. And we just kind of chat about whatever like game news is going on.
We played.
Was obviously a
we
big
played
one.
through a campaign with some guys from the Discord.
Yeah, it was sick.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was really
Lucas
awesome.
and I had some time to play, get some of the game done one night. We're like, yeah, who wants to play some games? And we just played with two of our homies and two fans.
Yeah, 2 fans.
I don't know.
Now, shout out Tim and shout out Connor.
Shout out Tim and Connor. So go hang out in the Discord. It's a good time. Great little community we got going on in there, and we're excited to see it grow. Lucas, where can we find you online?
I could be found at Instagram. I could be found. Fuck. I could be found on.
Hey, talking's hard, man. They don't talk about that enough.
We've been talking for like 2 hours straight here.
I know.
I could be found on Instagram at Good Idea Lucas. That's about it. Kind of just on the gram. By the way, have you seen that Venmo trend going around? People are trying to get free money.
I have.
Venmo.
I saw you post it. You know, I saw another post that like, yeah, they're doing this, but also they're apparently doing it to hide the fact that they just like apparently they're adding a charge transaction fee soon, which is really lame actually because I use Venmo very regularly. So
gotta switch to something else that doesn't have a charge transaction fee because
Cash App or Apple Pay.
The market has competition. Sorry, Venmo. People are just going to jump
Venmo.
ship. No, but I didn't post the actual Venmo thing. I just posted a big V.
I was like, I saw you posted. I'm like, this I feel like something Lucas would post or care enough about.
Yeah,
and I was like, it looks a little different for everyone else's. Whatever, it's probably nothing. That's funny.
I see. I was hoping to get like some good laughs on that one. I think it's too advanced of humor for people.
Too high octane. The world wasn't ready for that one. 10 years. All right, everyone. This has been. Thanks for playing. Catch you next time.